These are the guys who have been coordinating personal projects all over the world. So here is Dominic, not Dominique. We made him a woman in the presentation. He hates me for that. No, here he's a woman. Here he's a guy, right? It's correct.
I am a man.
Great, I saw it in your voice. Okay, so Dominic, he is the one who has been coordinating personal project here in London. We are in London, right? Here in London for 3 years. Twice he coordinated personal project 1, and once he coordinated personal project 2, which has only been run here in London. We will then use it in other places. Then we have Chet and Ryan. They look as young as you, but they are not as young as you. They are already married. But I invited them over because I think their testimony is going to be very important. They are from the Philippines. They did personal project when they were not married. Single is... Explain about single. Why can I not say single?
Single's fine.
Single is fine? Okay, single is fine. The other day he said, single is offensive to us. And I said, okay, I have to find another word.
So Letty was using single as a noun. As an adjective, that's fine, but I am not a single.
Now I understand. Okay, so when they were single, then they did personal project, then they got married, and now they are moderating personal project, and they are also mentoring. So you'll tell about that later. Then we have Fran and Alejandra. Alejandra is my boss's daughter. By the way, this is not because Alejandra is here, but my boss is the best boss ever. So Alejandra takes after her father and is helping so much family enrichment. I am really looking forward for Alejandra taking over IFFD because really she is amazing, all she has done in these months. So thank you, you had a great teacher. And Fran is a lawyer. He is engaged to Alejandra. And he has been brave enough to come here because in Barcelona, there are many, we have a crisis here in London and they're in Barcelona for different political reasons. But he finally made it to London, so thank you very much. Then we have Nem Ike. Did I say it correctly? Yeah, okay. And she's from Nigeria. She has participated in a personal project there, although she hasn't been so much involved yet, but she's willing to be very involved in running the personal project over there in Nigeria. And then we have Mary Canale. She is going to tell us about her experience as a participant in personal project in New York. She is a teacher. Ooh, that's a friend. Okay, so I'm going to sit down. And we are going to start. And we are going to start with Mary. Mary, could you please tell your experience of personal project, how it hit you?
So, hello everyone, by the way. So, in the United States, especially in New York, personal project was first started with the family enrichment, and then they decided the personal project to start in New York City. And honestly, when I first heard about it, I thought, oh, sure. I mean, just another thing, to meet other people, maybe get some new ideas about marriage. But then when I started, it completely changed the direction that I was heading in life. Growing up in an Italian Catholic family of 12 kids, we grew up just communicating all the time and about everything, whether it was happy moments or conflicts, and there was a lot. So we grew up having conversation. Our parents taught us the foundations of friendship, relationships, and so I came into the personal project hoping that it was something like that, because as I got older, I started to feel like the world wasn't really seeing me as I am. So then when I started the personal project, I started to feel like, wow, this part of the world really, really gets me. So that was the first session, and then I just kept coming back.
And you had a lot of fun,
Of course.
right? Say it.
So, I wasn't sure. So, when I first started, I started with kind of like this wall up, okay? Just growing up in New York City, where the number one reason for divorce is incompatibility, which means a breach of trust or whatever that means, just growing up like that, it's easy to lose sight of what you were taught as a child. For the life of me, I couldn't understand when I was a child, why did moms and dads get a divorce if everyone communicated like my parents did? I really could not understand it. And then when I hit high school and then college, and I started to work, before I became a teacher, I started to work at restaurants, and I started to talk with other people. Restaurants are great for socializing, especially if you work there. So I started socializing with these people, and a lot of people started saying, like, they became interested about my life. So obviously I would just start talking freely, just 21-year-old Mary, just shooting the breeze with everyone. And then when people would ask me questions like, so based on your family experience, what's the secret to a good marriage? And I'm like, why are you asking me? But I would just use my parents' experience. And more often than not, it was always met with the response, you live in a bubble. The world is not like that. And after a while, an impressionable young 20-year-old or 20-something-year-old girl starts to get a little bit closed off. And I went from being this three-dimensional person that I am with my family to being very one-dimensional and very safe and not wanting to share who I am with the world. And for a time in my life, I was just giving very safe, one-sided, generic responses to my friends anytime they asked me for advice about something. And it wasn't who I was, sorry. It wasn't who I was, but I didn't know how else to communicate. I had lost that part. So then when I found the personal project, or actually the personal project found me, I found that I could actually truly be myself, and that this part of the world really wanted this three-dimensional Mary and encouraged me to talk about my own experience and see what the rest of the world, or the rest of New York City anyway, went through. I mean, it's kind of like the world, but it's up for debate later. But it just opened, and little by little, this wall that I had spent so many years building up just came down. It started to come down one by one, and to the point where there were people in the personal project that I had known from previous events, and I never thought to even become friends with them. Then meeting these people now in the personal project, some of us turned into great friends. So just the personal project found me at a time where I could have easily given up on believing that true relationships and true marriages can actually happen outside of my family. I was very close to the point of giving up on that, but the personal project really saved me from that. So, and it was really fun, going out on Saturday nights after the personal project. It was good. But I've never.
She had fun.
Oh, we had so much fun. Stephanie could tell you. Yeah, it was. But the difference between the conversation was that instead of it being just conversation about, oh, did you watch this show, how it normally would be, with millennials, just talk about, trending topics. Now, with this group especially, it's like, well, so what do you think are the foundations of a good life? Conversation like that, I've been like craving it because in my family, that's a normal dinner conversation. Like, what's the meaning of happiness? That's normal Sunday dinner banter. But it's really hard to see that outside of my family. And with Personal Project, I saw it, and I'm still seeing it. And it's just things like that just keep me coming back and wanting to invite my friends as well, because it's really helping, with the culture that's in New York and just on the East Coast in general. But yeah.
Thank you so much. So you had fun.
Yes, we had fun.
Thank you, Mary. So from now on, you are in charge of promoting Personal Project in the United States.
Oh,
okay.
Easy.
So now I am going to give the word to Dominic. He is going to talk about his experience coordinating Personal Project in London, which has been very demanding, but you also had fun.
A lot of fun, yeah. So we've been running Personal Project in London for 3 years. Earlier it looked like only about half the people here have actually done the course. So just so you understand how it works, we meet twice a month, at least that's how we've been doing it here. Once in a small group, and you're assigned to a small group, and you get to know those people really well, and you talk about the case, and then maybe 2 weeks later you meet again as a large group with everybody, and talk about it again, basically. So we launched, 3 years ago. We meet twice a month from January to May, and each month look at a different case study. So we launched, and the large group sessions were a big hit. People really enjoyed those, and we had fantastic moderators. I was one of them. Fantastic moderators. Letty, you were the first one, though. Really fantastic. And those were a big hit, really a big hit. The small group sessions started off well, but attendance at those groups really went down quite quickly. And we tried to understand why. So the second year when we launched it, again, big groups worked really well. Small groups, again, really started going down very quickly. So we started doing like a mop-up session for anyone who couldn't make the date of their small group. Because in London, there's so much happening all the time, and people commit to so much stuff. And then realize there's a clash, and they think to themselves, well, if we're going to talk about this stuff in 2 weeks anyway, I can also go to this other event. So we started running this midweek mop-up session for anyone who couldn't do the weekend. And that was really, really well attended. But still, some of those small group sessions were painful. Like you turn up, and out of maybe 10 people in the small group, 2 people would arrive. And that's including the coordinator. So it can be, you get to know that one person really intimately, but it's not the point of the group. So at the end of the second year, during that final large group session, we passed a book around and asked for people's feedback, and really asked people be critical and say what would really, really help this, so that next year we can do it really well. So we had so much feedback, and people were so open, and there were so many ideas. A lot of the feedback sort of balanced each other out. So there was like people saying, oh, this would work much better if it were a talk from an expert. And then other people saying the discussion was fantastic, and we really got a lot from hearing what other people thought. Or some people were saying, it'd be great if there were more guys here, whereas other people were saying, fantastic that there are so many girls. So a lot of the feedback, balanced itself out. But there were 3 main points to that feedback that we thought, okay, we can work with this and really improve it next year. So the first point was that that there were people who'd got a lot from it, and they wanted to come back next year, bringing their friends, but they said, we know all the case studies already, so it'll be boring, basically. And some of them had done it for 2 years, because they'd already brought their friends with them. So I don't know if that was what decided, but we decided anyway to, and that definitely helped the decision, to make a new set of case studies. So Letty mentioned earlier Personal Project 2, which is a new set of case studies with fresh characters, fresh situations, and more interesting things to talk about to generate that discussion. Much less American than the first set of case studies, which was fantastic. I only understood about... there were so many things I didn't understand in that first set.
He says much less American because he was the one who edited it.
So anyone who uses Personal Project 2, you will have the pleasure of using something with correct English. So that worked really well. That was a huge effort by mainly by Letty and Maria Kemp, who you spoke to earlier, or who spoke to you earlier, and a chap in New York, I forget his name, but those are fantastic. And so now we have 2 sets of case studies, which I expect going forwards will probably alternate them one year, one the next year, so that if people do bring friends back the year after, they don't have to sit through the same cases again and pretend to have new reactions to it. So then 2 other pieces of feedback we had. One was that people said, we really want to meet new people, which I didn't really understand at first, because through these 2 years, for 5 months each time, people had been with, the first year we had 60 people, the second year 100 people, and I thought, if in 5 months you can't get to know new people when you're sitting with 100 people, then like, what's going wrong? We meet up for coffee in the morning, chance to chat. We have the whole day together chatting. We then go to the pub for drinks afterwards. But still, there was something that people felt they weren't able to meet. Maybe people weren't so confident, or maybe there were groups and they couldn't get into those groups. So there was that as a piece of feedback. And the other piece of feedback was that they were saying we were traveling, so in London, we have this as one group for the whole of London, and really for the whole of the UK, at least in those first 2 years. And people were traveling so far, like just in London, you can be traveling more than an hour to get to wherever it happens to be. We were in southwest London in a school. And there were people coming from outside London as well. There's one guy who drives he's here today, he drives about 3 hours to get to the session. There was one guy who was flying from Germany each time to get to the session. And they were saying, if we're meeting twice a month, this is a lot of travel to be doing, especially if we're talking about the same thing every time. So we took that on board. So the getting to know people and the traveling to talk about the same thing. We thought, how can we fix those things? So in the 3rd year, we really changed the format of the course. So if you're involved in organizing Personal Project in your countries, I think it's really good just to know that you can change the format to suit you. So what works well in London that we did this year, and it went fantastically, was that we just, rather than meeting twice a month, we just crammed it all into one action-packed day once a month. Which suits people's busy diaries, which suits people so they'd have to travel far less, and so that on that one day it's much more fun. So we'd meet in the morning at about 11 o'clock, and we'd have teas and coffees, especially in January to March in London. It's pretty miserable weather, so it's good to warm yourself up, and a chance immediately to meet so many people. And then we go into our small groups. So previously the small groups, as I said, they're set groups with the same people every time, whereas this time, and that also means that if only a few people turn up, you only have a few people to talk to. So this time we thought, well, let's see who turns up for the main session, and then just split it up dynamically each time. So it's a different group every time. So that means that you get to know new people every time. And it also means that even in splitting the group up, you can turn it into a game where people get to know each other. So you can say, okay, well, stand in a line alphabetically going by middle name. So even if they have a name badge on, they still have to talk to each other because the name badge doesn't have the middle name, or stuff like that. So they get to know people in that game. They get to know people in the small group. And also we said in the small group, just make sure that people have read through the case study, but you don't have to go into such depth because we're going to do that this afternoon. So it can be just a chance to get to know each other and to chat. Then we split up for lunch, which we had an hour and a half for, which seems incredibly generous, but people really enjoyed it, and they were chatting the whole time. And we provided Dominoes and beer, and that was popular. And And with such a big group, it's really quite affordable as well. Then we split up for the large group, which had the same format as the large group always does. So we had a fantastic moderator. Yeah, and it was really good. So towards the end of that large group, we've already been together in a group for maybe 5 to 6 hours. But people had so much energy, and it was a really good dynamic. And then after that, we'd split up, and we'd all go to the pub, normally. And after that, people would go off in various groups for dinner. And after that, some of the groups went dancing as well. So actually, this turned from sort of maybe I'll go this month, to people like being away from home for about 15 or 16 hours, having a great time. And we asked for feedback at the end of this one, and it was just all positive, basically. Again, that sort of feedback that balances each other out, but it went so well. So we feel now we've really found the best way to run it in London, and do take any tips from that you can. So I think now, going forwards in London, we need to work out how to advertise it better. And if anyone has any tips for us on that, then please come and see me later. Because we find in London, like, who wants to do this course? We've all tried asking, like, friends from work or friends from university, and most people think, because this is sort of a post-Christian country, and people feel they know everything that the church has to offer, and so immediately, and they're not interested in what the church has to offer. And so as soon as I start talking about this course with friends, the question always is, is this something Christian? Is this something Catholic? And they have a fear of being...
Is it something Catholic?
That's a good question. And...
Is it something Catholic?
No, it's not something Catholic. It just happens to be that 95% of the people involved are Catholic.
For the time being. But just let us grow.
Exactly. But people really have this fear of being brainwashed. And so there are a few who are open to it, but most people just keep it at arm's length, and they're like, great, have a good time. Let me know what you talk about, but I don't really want to commit to that. So yeah, so that's what we're dealing with here. And that's, I think, our next challenge. But it's a good place to be, I think.
So about this Catholic thing, it is true that right now, in some places that it is offered, many of the participants are Catholic. But the wonderful thing about the method that we use is that it's not a teacher. I am not a teacher. I am a moderator. So when I am going to moderate a case, I don't care who I have in front of me. It might be a Muslim, it might be an atheist, it might be a Christian. All I want is for people who are in that same situation, that same age, to discuss a case and to give their insights about facts, problems, and solutions. So if you have a group that is all Catholics, then you will get a Catholic point of view from many Catholics. But if you go to Kazakhstan, where we are, and we will soon offer a personal project, you will only have one Catholic in the group, if there is a Catholic in the group, and the rest. And what are they going to do? The same. They are going to discuss, and using the case method, they are going to talk about these topics that Mary was talking about relationships, about friendship, about work, about communication, all these things that are so important. So it depends on the environment that you have, that you are going. It's so important. It's not only important that we know things, it's very important that we spend the time to think on these topics ourselves, and that we are able to discuss with other people without getting emotional and without getting feeling attacked because other people just don't think like you. So you have to give, this reinforces your way of thinking and also helps you see what others have to say to you, what you can learn from others. We can learn so much from each other, whatever religion you are. And this is what personal project gives you the opportunity to do. So we have to be careful not to make it a Catholic thing, because it is not. Okay? Great. So we are going to, I would like to know, Nkem, your experience when you participated in Nigeria in the personal project?
I would like to start off with something I read, I think, a few weeks back, and it was a list of the top 9 toughest cities to live in the world. And on number 3 was Lagos, Nigeria. Behind them, number 1 was somewhere in Iraq, then there was somewhere in Libya, and then there was somewhere in Lagos. So I live in Lagos, Nigeria. And so imagine the one number 3 on the list, how tough it is to do so many things. I was talking to, I think, Vicky, somewhere, and then I was talking to how you have to wake up early, like have friends that leave their house at 3:30 in the morning, and they're back to home at 11 p.m., and then they have to do the whole circle. So it gets hard, juggling of all those things. And then I guess personal project was that for some people, where in all that chaos, don't worry, it's not that bad. It's not, don't let me scare you. It's not the toughest among the toughest cities to live in. But I mean, it was blown out of proportion anyway. But yeah, so in all that, it's nice to sit around and have people that maybe experience the same thing as you tell you this is what it works for me, or just share their ideas, and it was good. Anyway, when I first got introduced to the personal project, it was kind of unofficial because my dad does some family enrichment things, and he says something like personal project did not happen for him, and he grew up with so many vices that were just allowed because he was a man. But then for the ladies, he was like, oh, you have to do all of this. But as a guy, he didn't have to learn anything different. The lady would take care of everything when he got married. And he says that if not because my mom had some kind of formation, the mistakes he made he wouldn't have had any marriage after the first couple of years. So he didn't want that to happen. And so he wanted to do a lot more family enrichment thing tailored towards the guys, because that wasn't happening a lot. And so one of the moderators, who I eventually met afterwards, came to one of our sessions in our house. I was just there for moral support. I wasn't moderating. I just helped put out snacks. Do you want new drink? But I didn't want to sit down there and listen to anybody talk about their relationship. So I was always outside. And she brought one of the cases, and then people discussed. It was so interactive. Most young people there spoke to her afterwards. So that's how I got an unofficial introduction. I didn't know that was what it was. And so a couple of months later, they said, oh, there's this IFFD conference coming up. You have to do personal project. And I was like, okay, are they going to be boys? Because, I mean, I'm doing a lot of things with girls, but we need to meet boys. And so I get to the venue quite early. I sat down, and then the first 10 people that walked in were my friends. Ladies are like, something is happening here. I don't understand. Like, where are the boys? And then one boy shows up, and then followed closely behind was his girlfriend. I'm like, well, that's well, there goes that. And after an hour, we're 20 of us, for instance, and 17 ladies and 3 guys. And we're wondering, I thought we were here to, meet people, but that's not what it was. Anyway, so we started the cases, we're put in small groups. So, I mean, we discussed, we just shared ideas. And the moderator, also the president of NAFAD, National Association for Family Advancement in Nigeria, also now told the guys that, oh, you know what, I mean, we need, because as much as we want to meet boys, we actually also need that balance of ideas, what's the guy's perspective on this? Because the ladies were it was almost like a war. Let's say one of the cases, a guy did that. So a guy did this, and then she turns to the guy so you did this one. I didn't do it. This is just a case, that kind of thing. So she said they need more guys to help, with the battle, because there are 17 girls with 3 guys. It was not a very fair war. So, I mean, the next month when we met again, so we meet how they meet, how Dominic says, once a month, Sundays, from 3 o'clock. We don't spend the whole day because some of us have to sleep after Mass. So we don't spend the whole day there. I wouldn't show up anything before 11 o'clock on a Sunday. So the 3 p.m. was a good thing for us. So we meet at 3, so I think 5, so 2 hours we're there. Because even for us, we're thinking of traffic, we're thinking of getting back home. So if it's getting too late, you're wondering, I have to go back home. Anyway, so the next month we met again. It was, I mean, the guys, 2 extra came. Anyway, so we had 5 and more ladies. But we went through the process that way. So I think that was basically a challenge for us, because I was talking to Leticia and she said for them, they stop registering ladies and then start registering guys. I'm like, they're not even guys registered in the first place. So, but apparently what I heard was in all the years of running personal projects in Nigeria, the first 2 years, because it started in 2013, the first 2 years, there are actually more guys than girls, because they thought that there were going to be girls in the so they came, and then afterwards it just somehow switched. We don't know why. We're trying to find out why it switched, but now they became more girls than guys. So we're still trying to find like a balance. But now we're going to universities, and I think the idea for me was that, like how my dad said, that sometimes we try to fix things afterwards. It's like he had entered into marriage before he now started figuring out family enrichment and all the things. And it would have been better if he had known beforehand. And that's what the personal project was for him. It's learning all these things even before you get to that point where you now have to start fixing the injury with the Band-Aid. Like, it doesn't work that way. So, it might end up working out. It worked out for my father. But not so many people have that kind of luck. So yeah, so that's what the experience was for me. It was something that I liked the fact that I had to hear what other people thought. Sometimes I'm in an environment where I just, with my system, my system, and I'm just working. I don't have human interactions. I can go a few days without seeing my father, and we live in the same house. So yeah. So anyway, but it helped me make more friends, because I met someone. She came also with to the Congress with me, and we met at the personal project. We weren't friends before that. So I made new friends at the personal project, and it was fun.
She called it a fight. She said it had to be balanced in order for the fight to be fair. Great. You did great. Thank you. Thank you so much. So now we have to find the balance to get. It's important to get as many guys but you have to find out why suddenly only the women are coming. You have to find out. Okay, that's the new task for you. So now we are going to speak to Chet and Ryan. They are going to talk about their experience.
So good afternoon, everyone. So we're from the Philippines, and personal project in the Philippines is not called personal project, because we found out when we were trying to advertise it to our friends, and they say, what is that? Is that some kind of a finance project, or have to put on insurance or something like that? So we have to change the whole thing and change it into LEAP. So it's called Life Endeavors and Projects. So in the Philippines, we call our participants leapers. Not lepers, okay? Leapers. So anyway, it was launched in 2016, but in 2015 we were just experimenting on it. We never knew about it. But in 2016, when we launched, we were only in one city, in Metro Manila. It's called Makati. And then the next year after that, we had 3 cities. And the year after that, we were in 5 cities, and now we were in 10 cities. It was a huge success in the Philippines. So right now, we have about 700 graduates already in LEAP, and we have 70 volunteers. About 10 to 15% of that are team leads, or what we call the facilitators. They're the ones leading the small group discussion, and they're getting a lot of fun out of doing that one. So what we wanted in the Philippines is to really evolve them from participant to volunteers. In that way, we can spread faster and reach more young people, help them make the better decisions and the best decisions in their life. So how we do it there, we provide them with the necessary training, of course, because from a participant, you were just sharing your views and opinions out there, no judgment, right? And but the facilitator or the small group discussion guide, you have to learn how to listen. You have to keep your mouth shut and make connections, right? And one participant said, I missed becoming a participant because before I just used to be, sharing my opinions, but now all of a sudden I have to listen and to listen. Yeah, he said this, and then now we connect it to the other one. So, but it's a different experience for them, and it's a new source of excitement for them. And I think in the Philippines it's kind of different, because when they attend again the personal project a second time around, because they're a volunteer, they have new perspectives, they have new insights, because we have a lot of moderators. So we're changing moderators from time to time, and so they have better and better perspectives on relationships, on building relationships at home, and on choosing the criteria for a husband or a wife. So beside me is my husband, and in
Hello.
2015, when Personal Project was launched, where we were just experimenting, I said 2015, and I was also a part of a Personal Project as a participant. I was dating Ryan at that time, and it was just all girls when we had it. And we would date together in a Starbucks, and I'd say, "Here's the case. What do you think about it?" And so in a way, Ryan was a graduate of Personal Project, but I was the moderator, I suppose.
I haven't paid yet.
So aside from making them facilitators or the small group discussion guides, we wanted to evolve them into like what Dom is, a coordinator, and that's where they get a little bit scared about it, because where can they find the time, right? Everybody's busy at work, and then they have an MBA or what have you, and they have a boyfriend, and they have to go out on dates, etc. But what we would tell them, because here we say, for the big things in life, take the leap. That's what we do at marketing. We say, maybe you can try it. You might want to take the leap out of your comfort zone from a role that you probably are not going to take, because you probably think you don't have the leadership skills, you don't have the enough talent and the capacity. But what they found out is that they can actually evolve into someone else. They have not discovered that, hey, I can actually do this thing. And they developed their leadership skills in the process. So I think that was really a great experience for them, and I think that's one reason why it's starting to spread out around the several islands in the Philippines. So we're hoping now 10 areas, maybe there will be more there.
Yes, if I can add on how we develop volunteers, it starts with them, well, taking the lead. After that, we do train them a lot with classroom teachings, and then we also provide them like mock small group. So where the facilitators would take turn being the participants. Some of them would be placed there to be hecklers. So they would be trained how to handle those who are really hard to handle participants. And then aside from that, it didn't really started out that way, because in some areas where family enrichment was really small, they didn't really have a big network. So there was this particular area that the parents were the team leaders, and their children were the participants. So can you just imagine having your parents there facilitating, like, come on, Carl, so tell me how you meet people. Like, Mom, please don't embarrass me. So there's the importance of youthfulness. So when we had one volunteer from another area fly into that particular area, and then they tried putting him there, and well, the participants really blossomed there. They were kind of released from being policed, or so they spoke up, and I think it really needs the youth leading the other youth.
So aside from that of encouraging them to volunteer, we also did implement one-on-one coaching in the Philippines. So we call it mentoring, where we have a lot of volunteer parents. Now this is where the parents come in, right? Not on the small group discussions. And what we do is that we pair them depending on the job, for example, or the preference of a student, of a participant. And what they found out that in mentoring, it is very fulfilling, because this one, when you have somebody whom you can confide. Of course, it's all confidential, right? And there is an opportunity for you to ask questions, very personal questions, which you would not otherwise ask in a plenary or in a general session, right? And you gain a friend through that
Mentoring. Yeah. For our mentoring program, well, for the last talk you had, it was talking about taking your takeaways, so making your plan of actions. For each of our big groups, so we encourage our participants to write down their plan of actions. But then those plan of actions would just be a shame if they just stay as plans, right? So we help the participants by providing them mentors, and then these mentors would, not the mentors, okay. So they would try to help them fulfill their goals, like making concrete plans on how to reach them, or maybe throttling their goals if it's too big, or maybe adjusting them if it's too small. So these mentors are one way or another related to family enrichment. And then they might not know the case particularly because they're not really personal project volunteers, but they do have a ton of experience with them. So we have participants requesting for married mentors, and then sometimes like there's this one example. He really wanted to make it big in the financial markets, something like that. So he requested a mentor who has a deep finance background, and then there was this also a girl who wanted someone who can help her spiritually. And
Ryan and I are actually mentors right now. So we've graduated from becoming participants to facilitators to area coordinating on the side, but now we're also mentors because we're married, so I suppose that we're already qualified for that role. There is this couple that we mentored. They are dating, and one time we all met together in a coffee shop. Of course, I sat with the lady and he sat with a gentleman, and there were really a lot of questions regarding work, family, especially in a relationship. Questions like, when do you know if you're ready to get married already and if he is the right one? So things like that, very, very personal. But they find that very fulfilling. And we found out that if you really develop a good relationship with your mentor and becoming very open to his suggestions, you will be able to make the best decisions in your life, I guess, and also be able to have a friend that is not from your peer who is of your age, right? Because you have a lot of those, right? But you can develop this friendship even throughout the years. In fact, one of my mentee, she's getting married by the end of this year, and they got us as the sponsors for the wedding. So I think aren't we too young for that? But anyway, so I think we're mentors anyway. So yeah.
Amazing, amazing. Would you like to? No, I'm going to move on to Fran and Alejandra, because what they have done is I needed some young people to get involved in the elaborating a new program, the one that I talked to you before, the one for younger people, even younger than you, from 18 to 22. And I asked Alejandra and Fran to come in to help us. So go ahead.
Thank you, Leticia. First of all, I want to apologize for my bad English. Actually, it's not English, it's Spanglish. Okay? But don't worry, it isn't as bad as Mary or Dom, so there will be no problem.
Okay, thank you, Leticia. And thank you for the presentation. No pressure, because you've all heard my father, so. But yeah, so Fran and I, even though we regret it, we haven't done the personal project. So yeah, you must all be thinking, what are they doing here? But, well, Leticia and the IFFD, they were kind enough to invite us to share our experience on the family enrichment. So a couple of years ago, Leticia proposed us to be a part of a work group whose mission was to create and elaborate a new program in relation to the personal project one. as you have heard, the personal project is being really successful in many countries. So they wanted to do a new program, a different one, similar to the personal project one, but whose participants were mainly university students, 18 to 22 years old, more or less. So that there will be two projects, one for students and then another one for the young professionals, because students and young professionals, they are at different stages of life and the issues that they need to address are different. So that way they could they could be different groups.
So we joined a team with Carmelo Añón and with other people from the rest of Spain, Mexico, Chile, all of them varied, ranging from a mother of a large family, a young professional, to us. We are like an Avengers, more or less. It was great because all of us, each of us, brought a different vision, but all of the visions were enriching. Little by little, and with a lot of work and patience, we started the project. First, we decided which were the issues that young people need to address the most. We thought it would be a great idea to treat topics like what to do with all the free time. Going to the bar is not always the answer. Adult decision making or friendship.
Yeah, and then each of us worked on a case, trying to adapt the case system used for the personal project to this new program. And we think that was the most difficult part, because young people, well, we are young, but the generations coming have grown up with technologies, and they have been receiving all kinds of inputs throughout their childhood and their adolescence, telling them not to think, telling them that they are the most important thing in their life, telling them to follow their dreams, their passions, and that it doesn't matter who you hurt or what you do in the process, just be yourself and destroy everything. So it really was a challenge trying to make this new program attractive for these young people that are coming. But sorry. Yeah, but I think we were able to overcome it, mostly because, as Fran said, we were different people that like the ones we formed the work group, we were different people with different insights, different backgrounds, so we were able to work together and overcome this. For example, Fran and I, we worked on the friendship case, and we drafted the case as usually, but then we thought it would be great that the case for the case to be based on reality. So we thought that some part of the case should not be drafted like in writing, but in a WhatsApp conversation. So we did like the WhatsApp conversation, because nowadays WhatsApp is a really important tool towards maintaining and growing a relationship, whether we like it or not. And for now, I think we can be very proud of the work we do, although we still have to get the feedback. But for now, I think we could be really happy.
Also, we really appreciate that the guys in IFFD, they really take into account your opinion. They hear everyone out, even the younger ones like Alejandro and me. Excuse me.
And I think what we've learned is the work behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. Like, take this Congress, for example. You come here, they give you like this great lunch and great coffee, but that's all you see. but you don't see all the work that's behind this Congress or all the work that's behind the personal project itself. I mean, we started this project
September 2017.
and it hasn't even been launched yet. So we've only done the a really, really small part of the work to be done. But that's why this experience, it was really enriching for us, and because it helped us meet new people and really good and professional people. And then it also helped us to appreciate the work behind the scenes and to appreciate it, to realize that it is the volunteering of people like us, of the volunteering of all the people in this roundtable that helps the IFFD and the family enrichment reach its goals and be what it is today.
So we young people have to fight and to be aware of the importance of the family as the first institution, as the foundation of every society. Okay.
So we encourage you to volunteer.
Thank you for listening.
Alejandra and Fran, about building up a family. When are you getting married?
Oh yeah, we're getting married July 11th.
Yay!
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
But someone else is getting married too here because we didn't get the book of the first conference.
Okay, so I think we have 10 more minutes for questions. If anyone has a question about personal project to this roundtable, okay, you give him. You keep one in case they
Test. Yes. Well, first of all, thank you all, guys. Really lovely to hear all your stories and your experiences. But John, I want to ask you something. Because we, like 2 weeks ago, we had a training for moderators in the Netherlands. And then some people of IFD told us that it's not the best idea to organize both the team and the general session the same day. Because, of course, due to circumstances, it can be better. But, of course, in principle, it is better to let it rest for a week, for example, so that people, after the team session, can think and reflect, and then come back, be it a week, be it 2 weeks or 3 weeks later, and have the general sessions with new insights. So I would like to know what you think about that.
I think that's definitely what's worked with all the other courses that IFFD offers. I know that in London it's worked really well putting it all on one day. And the difference maybe that I imagine, although I have no proof of this, is that the other courses are all aimed at couples. And couples have other responsibilities, and maybe they can't spare so long in one day to have such a long time together. Whereas I've got nothing else to do. So
Lucky you.
And I think that applies for most people on the course. Nothing like really that they have to be at. If they're able to be on the course, then they can probably give a whole day to do it. And most of the people who I know would rather have all of that in one go rather than have to come back again. So I think definitely with the other courses, I can understand why it works better to have it on different days. And as you say, to have time to think about it. But the idea is that you read the case study before you go to that session anyway. So you should have already had a bit of time to think about it. So I really recommend the way we've done it, but only if, wherever that was, Utrecht or wherever that is, only if the Netherlands, only if that would be, only if it's a similar situation to London. I imagine if like in the Philippines you have lots of things all over the city, then maybe it's a much more local experience. So you can easily go to the local place. You've just got to think about what works best for you. I don't think there's a single best way of doing it.
Thank you.
I'd like to add. So what Dom is doing here in the UK is not really that unique, because we do have some areas in the Philippines that have the same small group and the big group at the same day. So I think the best practice would be to have it on different days, like let's say a week, and then a week next would be the big group. But there are still like the small groups and doing the big group right after. It would serve some of the local area, and I think it would really depend on the situation. For like in the area that started that in Cebu, it was because they were just starting out, so it was the best practice at that time to have it in the same day.
Hi, my name is Daniele, and together with my wife Daphne, I'm the general coordinator of Personal Project in the Netherlands again. And I have a question for Ryan and Sherry. So how do you turn a simple participant in an enthusiastic team leader and a volunteer for the next year? Do you have a recipe for that?
That's a very interesting question. I guess in the Philippines, what really happened was from a group, right, from the initial group that we had about 24. You will find there very enthusiastic people already of the program, very sold in the program. And then we tap them to become volunteers. And then what happens is it's like a domino effect. So it's really more of, you have to make sure that you kind of launch it, you go past the threshold, because I understand the fact that sometimes, they would not easily become volunteers yet. But I think that there is, in terms of numbers, and in terms of seeing the people together, working together, and having big groups, like for example, in the Philippines, we have what we call facilitators training day, where we gather all the facilitators from all over Metro Manila, but also some flying all the way from Cebu or Davao, from another island, and that's where they get their energy. But what I realized that for some people, really, they think of the volunteerism as a breather from their work, where they get energized and they have a new set of friends. In fact, in one of the cities there in Metro Manila, after a long week's work, for example, on a Friday, they don't have anything to do, then they would just text their co-volunteers and say, "What are you doing tonight? Do you want to have a board game or something like that?" So they're going to meet, and one of my friends is a volunteer here. They would meet together. So it's really more of like building that community within volunteers themselves. So I hope that helps.
Hi, my name is Adele. I'm from Singapore. So I can see like you guys are from the part of the world where you guys are very outspoken. I think as Asian, or maybe, okay, I look Chinese, but as this, well, I do have ancestry from China. So from this side of the world, we're quite passive. So I think the first round I was a participant, but the second round I tried to organize. It was really very hard to get people to participate or to even sign up. We tried to do trial programs, but they never signed up after that. And so I'm just wondering, like, what is it in the marketing that perhaps I need to, provoke thought? I mean, maybe as us Singaporeans, we think we're fine, we have no issues, we're great, we're perfect, or we're just too collective, and we don't want to stand out and say, I want to be the first to offer an opinion and sacrifice myself in the firing line, So I don't know, I have so many thoughts from these 2 days of being here, but I feel like after listening to what you guys say, it's just going back to like the drawing board and doing a trial and error and see where we're going to fail and what we're going to do. But do you have any tips and ideas on how I can, get it going for the second round successfully, hopefully? Yeah. Think quiet people that don't talk, that think we're perfect. So how do I get these people? Yeah.
I mean, I can relate to the people thinking they're perfect parts. Nigerians are not quiet, but we really aren't. We are very loud. I mean, see my outfits, we're very loud. We like to make a statement. But I think coming from a participant point of view, when I first saw the project, if I wasn't asked because I was supposed to come for the Congress, personally, I probably wouldn't have signed up. So I would be thinking, what would you tell me about life that I haven't had classes for? And I think talking to some guys in the class too, why when I was trying to invite some friends that were guys, was the same thing like, oh, why do I need to come for this? Like, what is this going to add to my life? I have to sit down on a Sunday in this hectic city, remember, for a few hours for me to hear somebody's opinion. I can do this in my office with my friends at home. I don't need this in particular. But I think what worked in the marketing for us was friendship. And what I mean is, I bring somebody, it has to be one-on-one, because even when there were 3 extra guys that showed up, it was because their friends had said, oh, I have seen this, and this is good. If you notice, people the best marketing is word of mouth, you know. You cannot put a flyer and say, oh, personal project, really nice. Nobody will show up. It's a case of, I have seen this, it's great for me. If I go back to Nigeria now, I've already put on my Instagram, people are asking me, oh, what's happening? What Congress I want to go next year or in 4 years? So that's already like you want to go for a Congress, come to personal project. So I think that's it, like it's how we portray it as people that have been in it, and that way we can actually get people to come. Because Nigerians can sometimes, some people can be know-it-all, like, oh no, I don't need this. But if they see that this is helping me in my life and I'm their friend, because a stranger cannot tell you how great this will be for them. So if they see that this is working for me and I tell them, then they tell their friends, and that way they just like this ripple effect of how you can bring people to the project. That's what I think anyway.
Yeah, if I can add also about the thing being the first one to be in the firing line, what you can do is you can have your small group being in a safe environment. So it's not more like, I think this or I think that. You can have, like, you know, my neighbor, he thinks this way. So, and then I'm just asking for a friend, he thinks that. So it creates a very safe environment, and then people would get to share a lot. So like, maybe you can try that out.
Can I add something? Because we have a participant who joined Personal Project because he found out about it through Facebook. So we've make use of the Facebook. But you see, Ryan and I were not in the marketing team. But along the course of the runs, we were able to get people from the marketing profession, and they were very enthusiastic about Leap. So they were the ones who were, you know, figuring out how to do the market study and how to come up with brochures. In fact, they're the ones behind the. Now we have a coffee table book, right, where they have all the testimonies from the different people who have experienced Personal Project. They're like really testimonies from the people. And when I read about it. Well, when I read about it, I was just really near to tears, because then all my efforts was, you know, my efforts and the volunteers' efforts were paying out, because we're making a difference in the lives of people. So, there.
We have time for one last question. One last.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Clemens. I'm from Germany, and I helped organize the first personal project in Germany in Cologne this year. And when we... Thank you. With her. And when we came to the point to split up the group into the smaller groups, we had a question: how do we handle couples? Because do we split them up? Do we take them together? So we talked to other organizers in other countries of the personal project, and we had different approaches. One said to me, oh, we make groups just with couples and groups just with single persons, or we mix it up. So my question to maybe all of you, how do you handle this?
We generally let them do what they want to do. So I'd say any couples probably aren't living together. So, for example, they don't need to be in the same place on the same day. If they're a couple who are very attached to each other, then that's no problem. But if they just want to make new friends, then that's also no problem, and they can split up. So we ask them normally, do you want to be together or not? Yeah.
Can I add something to that? So we had a couple also who joined the Personal project first time in the Philippines, and they were under my group when I was facilitating. I didn't know that they were together, right? But anyway, so it was okay. There were no quarrels or whatsoever. Anyway, at the end of the year, the guy proposed already. They were engaged, right? And then there are folks anyway who also in the Philippines. There was one couple who met in personal project. Okay, they met in February, and then they dated. And by the end of the year, December, they were married. It was really fast. but yeah, building on to Dom's suggestions, it's really up to you. You could. There's no one answer to it. You can put them together. You can separate them. It's really up to you. But just probably make sure that they're also having a good time with the rest of the team and not just trying to be all by themselves all the time. So.
Okay, so it's time, and we are going to finish this roundtable. I am just going to say that it has been amazing, really meeting you, each of you. We have been preparing this roundtable for 3 weeks now, and I am very confident that Personal Project is going to work very well because now it's in your hands. Thank you very much.